Hey, it's Chaz from ChampionshipFootballs.com. We've lost our lease. That means every single one of these boxes has to be out of here by July 31st. How many boxes, you ask? We started in 2005. Championship football started the same year the Longhorns won their last national championship. So you could ask Matthew McConaughey how many championship footballs that is, and they all have to go. So if you know a football fan, give them the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Check out our Facebook page for specials. We'll be sending out emails too with specials on your favorite team's souvenir football. But remember, it's not your team had a pretty good season footballs.com. It's championshipfootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. So thanks in advance for helping out, because we got to get rid of all of these.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Little roller up along first. Behind the stop up there. Here comes the next one. See you in Pittsburgh. Can't wait. All the baby is out of the field. He's going to go into the end zone. Looking, throwing in the end zone.
You're tuned into Game On with Josh Silverberg and Eric Bowe. Talking all things sports. It's
Game on! Yeah, game on!
Game On, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And happy Thursday to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. We are live here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, joining you every single Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live on WWSRN. Check us out on worldwidesportsradio.com, YouTube, Instagram, Periscope, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and, of course, Job in the Mouth have their TikTok, and so much more. We are back from the 4th of July break. Eric and I are here. Speedy on the board. There'll be no phone calls tonight because we're both remote. I will be back in the studio next week, and we will take phone calls during then. Job in the Mouth are going to be following us at 7:30.
So keep it locked.
What was that? What?
So keep it locked.
Oh, yeah. Keep it locked in. Eric, how you doing, man?
You know, it feels like forever. But we're back. Here we are. Lots to talk about. Some fun stuff. You know?
Yeah, I mean, this is like, Speedy, how you doing, man? Everything good, pal? How was your 4th of July?
Yeah, 4th of July wasn't, again, I was feeling sick, so I didn't get to celebrate that as much, but I did get to enjoy the weekend with some German relatives I hadn't seen for a couple years at my cousin's house. So,
What'd you drink? Too much? Is that why you were sick?
no, I didn't really drink. I didn't really drink much that night. It was just, I guess, a combination of what I ate and stuff. But nevertheless, for about a day and a half, I was feeling like bad. But then I got to enjoy the weekend with my cousins and their my dad's German relatives that I hadn't seen for like 3 years, which was cool.
And Eric, your 4th of July spent with working the docks that day and all that stuff?
It was a good time. You know, lots of fireworks, which was nice to see. You know, the dog did okay with it. It wasn't too loud, which is always a bonus, right? You know, the fireworks, you always worry about the pet sometimes. You know, the loud noises. The little guy doesn't like the loud noises. But we're digressing. It was good, though. How about you?
It was good. You know, went to a fun engagement party, friends of ours, and me in the wedding party. I have been summoned to run the bachelor party, and I thought everything got situated. I thought we were doing Scottsdale, and then I got a quick switcheroo.
Ooh.
Late, and he said, keep looking at Vegas and Key West. I said, all right.
Listen, if there's anyone who can handle the switcheroo and planning trips and stuff like that, I flip my hat to you.
Well, you know what? Honestly, I appreciate the sentiment and the kind words, and we had a nice vacation.
That's what I'm saying. We've seen it firsthand.
We had a nice vacation, went to Virginia. Us, both families, we had a great time. The pictures on Instagram and all that stuff. The kids had a great time with the Busch
Can you go to
Gardens.
the pirate ship? Did you go on a pirate ship at all, Josh?
I hate that stupid ride. That ride stinks. And now here. Okay, now that you brought it up, Speedy, Speedy, you can show yourself on camera if you want to, because I'm kind of curious what your reaction is going to be when you hear this story.
Let me see this.
There you go.
Great.
All right.
Great.
So, roller coasters, I'm totally good. Like that, it's weird. I'm fine with that dynamic. It's like the things that go up and down.
And ladies and gentlemen, I'll give you a quick story of how Josh is on roller coasters. You know, you're twisting, you're turning, you're doing these loops, and Josh is like, "Oh, look at that! That looks new."
Yeah, I start having a conversation.
Roller coaster will say.
Yeah, I start having a conversation with people on roller coasters.
The pirate ship, however, that's
so like I have been on a pirate ship in years and years and years, and I'm like, Eric's like, nobody's gonna volunteer, so I said, all right, I'll do it, whatever. And then both my wife and Eric's wife are like, you sure? Yeah, it's fine, whatever. What's the worst that can happen? And then right when the guy opens up the gate, I mean, Eric is just blazing. He knows where he wants to go, all the way to the end. You know what I mean? All the way, end seat Speedy. That's all the way on the left side.
But on the front side.
On that front side, yeah, he wants that one. That one. Yeah. So he wants that one. So I said, oh, I think he knows what he's doing. So I'm going. We're going to do it. It's fun at first, and then it gets higher and it gets higher, and I'm like, this is horrible.
And Josh is out loud saying, all right, good, we're done. Nope, one more.
No, I kept thinking we were done. And it was so funny. And I call my dad, and my dad goes, oh, I hate the pirate ship. I'm like, yeah, me too. And my dad goes, what'd you sit in the middle? I said, no, Eric blazed it to the end. And my dad goes, oh, I hate that. That is the worst seat.
You know, times Josh thought it was over, and it was just, oh, one more.
Yeah, I constantly between that and I did the teacups with the boys.
That's scary itself.
Yeah, well, because Caleb and Chris on adrenaline is like having 3 cups of coffee and a C4 energy times 5, and the two of them are just spitting it constantly. And it's already spinning, and I said, I'm going to throw up. I said, I'm going to throw up on these kids. That was my initial thought, and everything like that. But Speedy, I'm sure you've done the pirate ship and that crap before.
It's horrible. No, I've done the pirate ship. That was you're talking about the Caribbean one, right?
The one that swings it back and forth and up. I hate that stupid thing.
I do remember that one. The teacups I probably only did the first time I was there in like middle school.
No. Well, when we went to Disney World back in February, Caleb really wanted to do them, and then I'm looking at Melissa. Melissa's looking at me. I'm not doing it. And then my mother just goes, Caleb, come. And then she just takes him on it. And I said, thank God for that.
That's a pro move.
But the roller coasters were fabulous. Roller coasters. I mean, if you're a roller coaster fiend and you like roller coasters and you like different types of roller coasters, that is the place to go if you really are interested. But speaking of roller coasters, that's where the baseball season comes into play, as it has been very up and down for both the New York Mets and the New York Yankees. And then last weekend, the Mets won 2 out of 3 against the Yankees. I thought going in, I said, if the Mets even win with the pitching matchups, if the Mets even win one of these games, it's a miracle, because you had a TBD going up against Stroman. You had Montas against Rodon, and then you had a bullpen game against Fried. I'm like, okay. I'm like, the Yankees should easily, win all three of these games because you look at the pitching matchups. It's easy. I know Stroman's not that great, but whoever the Mets are throwing out there, the Mets are throwing a AAA pitcher out there who shouldn't be in the majors. You had Montas on Saturday, and then you had a bullpen game on Sunday. The Mets don't have a bullpen right now because everybody in the Met bullpen is hurt except for Diaz. And we saw in today's game, in game 1, when they took David Peterson out, who, by the way, congratulations to David Peterson, first-time All-Star. Very much deserved it as he gets the nod. And, the Yankees, they won Sunday. Everybody's got the day off. The Mets have probably their best win of the season on Tuesday with the comeback against Baltimore. The Yankees wallop Seattle, and they've done a great job against Seattle. Then the Mets lose the game 1 that they lose today. They just tied it 3-3 in the 4th. They actually got a hit with a runner in scoring position. It's a miracle.
Wow.
So,
Who would have thought?
yeah, Brett Beatty. Brett Beatty with the RBI. Brett Beatty hit. But Beatty's hit again since Beatty hit the home run against the Yankees on Saturday. He's been hitting well again. It's a very inconsistent, as we said, like the roller coasters. It's a very up and down type of, way. And, my thought process is, and I was always told this, and it's, you can't treat the baseball season like a football season. You can't go one game. Oh, that's it. Season's crumbling. I have a buddy of mine. I've mentioned his name many times on here, Mr. Matthew, who constantly says the season's over every time they lose a tough game. And I don't even answer. I don't even answer anymore. I just let him go. And because I'm not going to indulge in something that just seems silly to indulge in. But just like with the Yankees and the Mets, the seasons, like I said, now it's so crazy because the last time we were on the show, I think it was actually a few months ago on the show, I made the comment, who's in the American League that's over 500? There's nobody in the American League that's over 500. Well, we're now sitting here, and the Yankees are now in second place behind the Blue Jays, which is shocking in itself. And the Mets are, I believe, 2 games back behind Philly, or a game and a half, or whatever it is. It's going to be a 2-team race between the Mets and the Phillies for the division. Nobody else is involved this year. The Marlins, the Braves, the Nationals, I think the Braves might be swept by the Athletics. It's done. But the Yankees are in a dogfight. They're in a dogfight with the Blue Jays, and
Josh,
Tampa's been hit or miss. So.
You just hit the nail on the head. You said how many teams were above 500 in the AL last time?
Yeah, there was none.
Now, right now you look at the standings just in the AL East. Everybody but Baltimore is over 500.
Yeah, it's
right?
crazy.
Toronto, 54-39. The Yankees 51-41. Tampa 50 and 43. Boston even up 4 games over 500 at 49 and 45. Baltimore's 9 games under, right? But then you look in the Central, only Detroit's above 500. You look at the West, Houston and Seattle. Seattle coming into this series were actually 6 games over 500, down to 2 now, obviously, right? So to me, I feel like because of the trade deadline, it's almost perfect timing for the Yankees to go on this skid, for instance, right? Because how many times do you see in the past see like, hey, you know what? We're good enough how we are. We don't need to really make too many moves, right? The skid happens. You lose first place as the trade deadline approaches, and guess what? It kind of raises an eyebrow of, yeah, maybe we're not as good as we thought we were. We do need to make some more adjustments and pieces and stuff. And you know what? To me, I don't know. Call me crazy, but I feel like the Yankees are ready to make some moves. And perfect example of that is DFAing DJ LeMahieu when they did, right?
Yeah, that was a shocker.
Well,
I didn't think they were going to do it because the report was they discussed moving him to third base. Aaron Boone had a heart-to-heart. LeMahieu said he felt he didn't have the physical body or toll to be able to handle third base anymore. So it kind of put the Yankees in a situation where it was kind of like, all right, what we have to put Jazz at second base because and really quickly, I want to get your thoughts really quickly. I know we're talking about LeMahieu, we're going to get to, but your thoughts on the Yankee training staff alone, because the Mark Leiter injury came out, and Leiter said he injured himself in the series against Cincinnati, which was back in June. And
then
apparently Chisholm's been having a hurt shoulder for how many weeks now, and they kept putting him at third base. And I'm just like, I mean, Speedy, you would know this. This is kind of, and I'm not saying this to be funny or sarcastic. And there you go. Speedy said it. This is very Met-esque with the training staff. It is. It's very Met-esque with the training staff because Leiter hurt himself in Cincinnati, which was weeks ago, and they kept throwing him out there. And Chisholm has a hurt shoulder. That's for hurting him for weeks, and they kept putting him at third base.
But Josh, here's the thing, right? In most sports, right? Football, baseball, basketball, if you could be on the field, are you going to be on the field? I get it. You know,
it depends who the player is.
If everyone's sat out because of what they say, bumps, bruises, little, feeling here, little feeling there, you know what I mean? So to me, I take it with, if you're able to be on the field and play, okay. Compared to my shoulder's going to fall off if I throw a ball and I can't throw a ball and I physically can't be on the field, a little different perspective-wise, right? Now, LeMahieu wasn't injured, but, just unfortunate the body was breaking down, right? He couldn't get to some of those routine balls at second base where Jazz could get to, right? There's a lot of different breakdowns out there that show the stark differences, and it led to runs, it led to defensive, miscues, assignments, and everything else, right? So by moving on from DJ, you kind of have, all right, Jazz, you're back. That means Peraza has to be at third, obviously, with Cabrera.
Which I think the Yankees will, and we're going to get to the deadline stuff in a few minutes. I think they'll upgrade that at third base. It's just a matter of who.
But you don't also make that move just yet, unless you got something cooking for third base moving forward, right? Because I can't see them using Peraza as your everyday third baseman.
No, he can field it with the best of them, but he can't hit. And and again, it's the same thing with the Mets with Luis Torrens. Torrens is one of the better fielding catchers in baseball, but he just can't hit. And it's Peraza and Torrens are bona fide backup players who
Correct.
come in for defensive purposes. That's just what they are. They're not everyday players.
Here's the kicker too, right? With LeMahieu having the roster spot, it kind of forces the Yankees to keep Yorbit Vivas down in AAA, right? Where Vivas, if he comes in now, guess what? That's your now backup shortstop, your backup third baseman, and so on. Where your backup third baseman, Peraza, Escara, right? Your backup catcher, you can't really do that. So it kind of forced the hand of the Yankees to make that move so that there's a spot for Vivas to get up there, spell Peraza at third base, maybe even spell Volpe at shortstop, right? Because right now, who do the Yankees have that can spell Volpe at shortstop right now?
And again, that's the issue. And I brought up to you when we were on vacation. I said, I think the Yankees should do what the Mets did with Alvarez and just send him down to AAA. Let him have a reset because.
But that's the thing. If say Volpe isn't there, who's the shortstop for the Yankees?
Well, but that's the thing. No, the Mets don't really have a catcher either. But you know what though? If it is, yeah. But that's the thing. No, yes, but if it benefits,
correct.
If it benefits the player going forward, because between me and you, I think keeping him up here, because here's the thing, Volpe was also a really good defensive player. He hasn't been that in weeks now. Clearly the hitting is affecting him. He hasn't. Look at the numbers.
Okay.
Look at his errors. His errors have gone up. I think it would benefit the Yankees to send him down to AAA, Let him get his head straight. Let him get situated and get himself figured out again. The Mets did it with Francisco Alvarez, and Alvarez was the number one prospect in baseball at one point. Clearly, the teams are not afraid to say, listen, there's no sense in – I understand it's going to hurt us in our lineup right now, but here's the thing, though. Volpe is also not contributing anything to the lineup, so it's – if he's not contributing anything to the lineup, and clearly now his defense has been shaken a little bit from this slump, there's no benefit of keeping him up here and just throwing him out there every day and watching him get worse and worse and worse and messing him up not just on the field, but mentally as well. Send him down to AAA, stress-free, let him have a reset, figure himself out, and bring him back up in a couple of weeks. It doesn't hurt to do something like that.
It doesn't, but the Yankees roster construction kind of doesn't allow that. In terms of if Volpe goes down, who are you playing at shortstop?
But let me ask you, with the way Volpe's been struggling right now,
I mean,
hitting wise and everything, like, is there really a difference between him and Peraza playing short?
That's fine. You move Peraza to short. Who's playing third base?
Don't they have oh God, didn't they just bring somebody up?
Vivas?
Yeah. Just let Jordan Vivas, but listen.
Right, but it wasn't until you DFA'd LeMahieu that was even an option.
But the thing was, whether you had LeMahieu on a team or not, LeMahieu was never going to factor in because he couldn't play third base and he couldn't play shortstop.
But by DFAing LeMahieu, you're kind of able to have that roster spot for Vivas to come.
So let Vivas play third base, Peraza play short, and just send Volpe down and do it that way. Keeping him here, and again, it does no benefit. Just like with Francisco Alvarez, you lose Alvarez's bat because Torrens doesn't really hit well, but at the same time, Alvarez wasn't contributing anything enough at all to be able to make him a stay on the team as such. Well, and Volpe's also still very young, where you can salvage this, because let's call it like it is. The Yankees have had a hole at short since Jeter left. Derek Jeter left. I mean, Gregorius had his moments, and I like Didi Gregorius, and he had his moments, but he was also inconsistent. Mm-hmm. And then, they tried. Well, obviously, Volpe they thought and everything, and it's just been a mess.
Do you know why the pressure and the magnitude of Volpe is, right? Look how many of the shortstop era did the Yankees pass on, because nope, Volpe's the guy, right? At the time you had a Seager, you had Correa, you had a lot of big name shortstops, Simeon, right? A lot of big name shortstop that the Yankees. Nope.
Yeah, but here's the reality though: is that how many of them? All right, if you're going to talk about the three-headed monster that happened in free agency a couple years ago, that was what? That was Seager, Correa, and
I think Simeon too, because that's before.
Simeon was second base. Baez.
Simeon was a shortstop.
Yeah, but he played more second base when he was right. That was the three-headed monster, and the Yankees did not go
for any
after it. Yeah, but the thing of it is that thank God they didn't, because
how it panned out, right move. Absolutely.
Seager would have been a nice fit, because of how he is. But at the same time, I view it as, my thought process is how the Yankees are line up. And I understand what you're saying is that who can be the guy that can fill in. Again, I understand it is a situation that the Yankees are in that they don't want to be in, but you need to also think about the kid's future and just him constantly struggling up here. Listen, I think Mark Vientos should be in AAA right now for the Mets. I mean, it's the reality of it. It's just not working with him here this year. He needs to go down in AAA and figure himself out. I've said this constantly. There's no reason. And it could hurt you with your lineup. But the thing is, it may hurt you with the lineup, but the truth is, what is this person really giving you at this point that You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not giving you any XYZ right now. And if his fielding is struggling, why constantly trot him out there every day if now his fielding is affecting him? Because now he's not contributing or giving you anything. There's nothing that he's giving you. He's an automatic out, and now it's affecting his fielding play. Then it's like, just let the kid Vivas play, whatever, and
So
go that route.
can I tell you an interesting point as well, though?
Mm.
Before all this, Yankees defense and being unathletic was obviously a key point in free agency and what the Yankees were trying to do, for instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do you remember Cashman kind of came out and said, building these teams, you have to be strong up the middle, catcher, shortstop, center fielder in particular,
Sure.
right? So right now, catcher wise, okay, decently strong, right? Has moments. Shortstop and center fielder with Trent, great, right? So the one thing right now is that shortstop. But you listen to Cashman, you listen to Boone, and what happens? They have nothing but praise for Volpe, and I can't blame them. You know what I mean? Like, think about it. The hype and the surrounding information for Volpe is this guy should be a 2020 guy every season for you, right? He's not even stealing bases anymore.
That's what I'm saying. There's nothing about him that he's contributing to the point of
So,
you can't just have a backup player just play that role.
Like you get it, you understand a little more. Last year when he's hitting in front of Judge and Soto, hey, don't make it out in front of these guys. Yeah, okay, cool. I get that to a point. But I don't know. Right now, when you're not in the top part of the lineup, make some stuff happen.
Yep, and then that leads
Well, the Yankees as a whole have not been stealing so much lately too. I mean, Jazz had just an attempt the first time in like 22 plus games, 23 games, right? So the Yankee stealing bases in general hasn't been really there. But
yeah.
you're talking about trying to be more athletic and bringing the game to the other team and stuff. I mean, that's one area they can definitely do.
Yeah, I mean, and we're gonna get to the All-Star game stuff in a couple of minutes. I don't find the All-Star game to be a big deal, whether you get in or you don't get in. I don't think it really matters.
Well, I think there's one in particular we should probably talk about.
Well, I was gonna get to the deadline stuff first because we were talking about the trade deadline and
I like that
and everything of that nature, and we'll get to what teams, players we think they're looking at, and so on and so forth. And we talked about the third base situation with the Yankees, and of course, you've heard the names. Eugenio Suarez, who's going to be the big power bat at the deadline, probably next to Byron Buxton at the deadline. The thing about Suarez is he's going to have everybody go after him.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be shocked if like Detroit went after him or something like that. I'm sure, I mean, it sounds like the Mets are going to keep rolling with Mauricio at third, which he's been doing better. I expect the Yankees to be in on Suarez, but it's a matter of, I don't think Suarez will be the one who they get. I think there's going to be like the Cubs, and there's going to be too many teams that go after him that have a higher prospect pool than the Yankees do. I expect the Yankees, names I thought, obviously we've heard Ryan McMahon's name from Colorado. I think another name that would be fascinating to me is Ke'Bryan Hayes from the Pittsburgh Pirates. We know he's got he has a little bit of Chisholm in him, Hayes. That's the only caveat and worry I have with him. And you put those two together, it's like, you know what I mean? But
Can I give you an interesting Yankee perspective, possible take with those names you just mentioned?
Sure. What?
That all three of those names you have mentioned have one thing in common. Now, granted, it never works out this way, but all three of those names, those teams also have something that the Yankees are also looking for, we'll say, right? And that's pitching to go along with it. So think about Suarez. Zach Gallen could be a name paired together, for instance, right? You think of Ke'Bryan Hayes in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
David Bednar could be a name, right? Now, granted, I know a lot of these trades happen separately and whatnot, but still interesting to think. You say Ryan McMahon, Haverelson, another name. So all three of these teams, besides the third baseman, kind of have some pitching the Yankees could also pursue with it. So I just an interesting take of, do they try to pair it together, and sweeten the deal, whatever else that way? But
I mean, it's the only way the Yankees are going to do it. If they want to get the top of the notch player to do that, like.
But you see what I mean?
No, I do. But I'm saying it's. I'm just looking up. Hold on. Top farm. Keep making your point because I'm looking up something.
That to me, I don't know. I find it interesting that all three of those third basemen kind of have a pitcher teammate there that would maybe be paired with them in a deal, right? Like Zach, again, most times it'll happen differently. You try to get the most prospects, you try to get the most bang for your buck per player itself, and I get that. But just from a Yankee perspective, it's an interesting take that all three of those guys kind of have a pitcher that could and would help the Yankees as well.
No, of course. I mean, that's going to be because right now, ranking-wise, the Yankees are 25th in baseball and farm system, and then you have the Tigers are number 1, the Dodgers are 4, the Cubs are 7.
Josh, real quick,
the Mets are 8. So it's almost these are teams that are going for it that you're gonna have to say, all right, we're gonna have to trade our top guys to sweeten the deal and make something of it.
Another interesting point to make with the Yankees, at least in the trade.
They need bullpen help?
No, but you look at who did the Yankees pitch last night?
That would be
Cam Schlittler, right? And that was very impressive, to say the least. Throwing high 90s, hit 100 a couple of times, 7 strikeouts and 5+ innings. Definitely interesting, right? Now, the timing of it, to me, is the most interesting part. It's either A, the Yankees know we're not moving this guy. We're going to show the world why. Or the opposite of, maybe we will move him. Let's showcase him a little bit, get some value up. But I just feel the timing of it, yes, granted injuries and everything else, the timing of it just makes me say, right? And the fact that he did well, perfect.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. The Yankees, if they're going to get guys that they want, like I said, I named teams like the Tigers, the Cubs, the Dodgers, the Mets. All these teams, they have the depth in the farm system where they don't have to trade the top guys, that you can still get a really good piece. The Yankees don't have the option. If they want a really good piece, you're going to have to trade a top guy to get that back. And it could be you might need to trade more than you want to even it out. You know what I mean?
I would say out of Schlittler, Lombard, and Spencer Jones, out of those three, who do you think is the most likely to get traded? I think it's the third one there.
Yeah, Jones.
Right?
Yeah.
Only because partially blocked.
Yeah, Dominguez is starting to hit well. You have Judge out there. Even if they don't re-sign Bellinger, they're going to have other options. Well, and Jones doesn't even play center field anyway.
No, but what they could do potentially is, after Goldschmidt's done this year, you have Bellinger go to first base.
Yeah.
Dominguez goes to center field.
Sure.
And then you put Jones in left field.
You could do that too. That's another option.
But as of right now, you kind of think like, all right, Jones might be blocked a little bit. Lombard, they seem to be over the moon with.
I hear this guy Schlittler, Lombard. I feel like I'm going for I'm having a dish at a German restaurant. Let me have a Schlittler with some Lombard, please.
That'll be if the Yankees do go that route and have to trade those guys, or if Cashman's able to find some workarounds and not trade them, for instance, right?
Yeah, I mean, it really, when it comes down to it,
because The main thing about like the Arenado trade, I think if Arenado gets traded or if and
I
when,
don't know. He's not having a great season, but the Cardinals are in it right now, so
it's gonna come down to you're willing to take this much of his contract.
yeah. Do you
Okay,
want it?
yes. Right. So if the Yankees are just like, okay, here we'll give you this, we'll take that, and we'll eat most of this. Right?
It's the same thing because we've heard them. Same thing with the Mets, and they're connected to Byron Buxton. It's Buxton's getting this much money. He's having a great season. Buxton. He's an all-star. He's on pace to be a 40-40 guy this year, but he's still got 4 more years left on that contract. And the Mets are going to say, all right, listen, we'll take Buxton, but you need to pay X, Y, Z. And oh, by the way, we're not going to give you the return that you think you're going to get for him. But if you don't want him on the team anymore, pay X, Y, and Z, and we'll take him. We'll take him for the last 4 years, but we're only going to pay this much. Or, I did that because the Mets rebuttal back to Minnesota is that's fine. We could go after Cedric Mullins. We could go after Jared Duran. We could go, Luis Robert. We could go after those guys as well who have lighter contracts, not long term, and you don't have to deal with the headache of the financial aspect of the situation. Now, are they as good as Buxton? No, but it's the 4 years remaining on Buxton's contract at $8.5, $9 million a year that the Mets are gonna say no, not to go. I know we were talking about the Yankees, but you brought up the whole, with contracts and everything like that. It's we're not going to give you this return. You need to pay this much money to take the contract. It's going to be one of the two options. Either the Mets say we'll give you a mid-level prospect for him. You're not going to give you a top-tier prospect, or you pay half this contract. You pay, you're going to pay most of this contract, and then we'll give you we'll give you the prospect, or we just give you a lower tier prospect, and you just give us Buxton. That's what the options. I think a lot of these teams are going to have to take. And again, both the Mets and the Yankees are going to need bullpen help. There's a chance the Mets get swept by Baltimore today in a doubleheader. Wouldn't surprise me. And everything of that nature. It's both teams need bullpen help. I think the Mets are going to get Manaea and Senga back this week, which is ginormous for this team. And everything of that nature. That alone is huge to get those two back, and everything. And the All-Star break can't come soon enough for these two teams. I mean, that's just the reality of it. Both these teams need the All-Star break. The Mets need a starting pitcher. Yankees do too. Bullpen help is constant. The Mets could need a catcher. The Yankees need a third baseman. The Mets need a center fielder. Like, there's needs that both of these teams have, because when I look at it on paper right now, like the Mets, they're not as good as the Dodgers right now. They are
as good as
I think they're right there with Philadelphia. I think those two are neck and neck. They've been neck and neck the whole season. Both teams have bullpen issues. Both teams have good lineups. The Mets with Manaea and Senga back depth wise have a better rotation, but the Phillies have the best pitcher out of any of them out of any of the pitchers with Wheeler. And then as the Yankees go, they're not as good as Detroit, especially on the pitching side. I'm curious. Are they even as good as Toronto
or Houston?
Yeah, I don't think they're as good as Houston right now either, especially because Brown and Fromber and those guys, and they're putting it together. But it's even I honestly, and I looked at it, I don't even think they're even as good as Toronto, because Toronto's starting rotation has been great the last month, and the bullpen has been really good for Toronto the last couple of weeks, other than that one game against the Yankees. But you look at the lineups. Look at George Springer is what's doing it, and you already have Vlad, you have Bichette, you have now Springer looking like he did 5 years ago. Kirk has had a nice season. for them as well. Oh, and by the way, they're gonna get Santander back in the next few weeks. It's, I mean, the Yankees. There's a legit, and same with the Mets. The Mets. I don't know if they're as good as the Dodgers. I think they're almost even.
Cubs.
Yeah, the Cubs too. That's another one. The Cubs might be better than the Mets.
Even
The Mets might be the third or fourth best team in the National League, and the Yankees might be the third or fourth best team in the American League. And just 2 months ago, we were talking about, and you're making a face, but the numbers speak for itself.
No,
The
listen.
numbers speak volumes.
right now, recency bias, you have to put Toronto above them, right?
Listen, what
That's
the Blue Jays just did to the Yankees, and I'm gonna
Right.
say it, they beat the living crap out of them in those 4 games. And that was stupid because guess what? Usually in Toronto, the Yankees usually always win in Toronto. That's been the norm for them for years.
Yeah,
And what Toronto did was and it wasn't just the small guys they beat, Eric. They beat Rodon. They beat up Fried. They beat the crap out. Fried had one of his worst starts of the year against that Toronto team. And by the way, Toronto is one of the best farm systems in baseball. They're 6th right now. They're going to have chips to trade at the deadline and go get guys. Go get a starter. Maybe they go get Eugenio Suarez and go put him at third base in that lineup with Bichette and Vlad and Springer. And when Santander comes back, and you add Suarez into that lineup.
Yeah.
They have enough. There's a realistic, like the Mets and the Yankees right now in both leagues are probably 4th or 5th in their leagues. That's just where it is.
Neither the Yankees nor the Mets are good enough to win the World Series, we'll say. I don't know if they're right now, if they're good enough to get out of the division series, right? If the Mets had a 1-game or if the Mets had to play in the wild card right now, how confident are you feeling? Right? If the Yankees had to play in the wild card, how confident are you feeling heading into the divisional series?
I mean, I guess, yeah. I mean, of course,
not
I, would,
right
I, I mean, I wouldn't be feeling great. I mean, at least, I think on the starting pitching side of it, I would have Sangam and Nia Peterson, so I would feel a little bit better.
But if they have to go in the wild card round, you're going to be at that much more of a disadvantage by the time you get to the divisional round.
Yeah, but you know what though? Honestly though, I always look at it like this. To me, and I've constantly said this for months and months and months. I don't care about the division. I don't care about I don't. The Mets did not win the division last year, and they got to the NLCS.
Mm-hmm.
The division winners have not fared well in the playoffs last couple of years. The Yankees are the only team that come out of that division series didn't have a bye and beat everything like that.
And then Cleveland.
Yeah, 100%. So and everything of that nature. Speedy said the internet's down, so I'm wondering if we're still live. Give me a minute. I just want to check to see if we're still live.
I hear you. You hear me.
Let me see if we're still live.
If there's anyone else, that's
we're still live. We're on YouTube. We're good. All right, so Speedy's gonna come back. But to me, both these teams they need bullpen. The Mets need a catcher and a center fielder. The Yankees need a third baseman. They both teams need a starter. Although I don't think people have an understanding of how vital it is that Minaya and Senga are coming back for this team. And they pretty much, to me, if they could go and get like a Mitch Keller from Pittsburgh, or like another name I thought of, and the Mets have the farm system to do this, I would ask Minnesota, because they're out of it. Minnesota, they're not going anywhere. Hey, I know you guys like Joe Ryan so much. I'm just curious, what would it cost for a Joe Ryan? Like,
his name's been floated out there already.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what would it cost for a Joe Ryan?
Maybe a Pablo Lopez,
or even a Zach Gallen, who,
same thing.
To me, it's to me, I figure out like the pieces and perks. And, I would call, it's crazy because Baltimore has not been great this year. They've been playing better lately, the last couple of weeks, Baltimore. But Baltimore's bullpen is also really good still. I would call Baltimore and ask for, hey, what's this gonna cost? Like if we take Mullins, will you throw in a Yandy? Would you throw in a Sir Anthony Dominguez? Would you throw in a Cano? Would you throw in this guy or something like that in the deal?
They traded Baker to the Tampa Bay Rays today.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it seems like they're
that.
Yeah, and that's in the division. So it does seem like everything I've read is
Zach Britton in his prime was traded to the Yankees. Let's not forget.
Yeah, no, I think honestly, you're gonna hear a bunch of bullpen names: Kyle Finnegan, David Bednar, Aroldis Chapman, anybody that is literally going to be up for grabs out of the bullpen is going to be available. And the Mets and the Yankees, both of them need complete resets in their bullpen. I think Ryan Stanek has not been good the last few weeks. And Reed Garrett, same thing. Why? Because they're constantly overused. They're overused because the starters are not giving them like, I'm watching the game today, and I knew firsthand when Mendoza took Peterson out for Stanek, I'm like, one, this is a horrible move because now you're putting Gunnar Henderson in the game, number one. And two, Stanek's been awful the last week and a half. And then boom, second pitch, home run for Henderson. It's like, I knew that was going to happen. It's, you know what I'm saying? So to me, the Mets, they need a center fielder. The bottom of that Met order is it's not good. It's Nimmo, Lindor, Soto, Alonso, and then it's like everybody else. That's why they need to get a center fielder. They possibly need, maybe call the Athletics about Langoliers, the catcher. See what what will it cost to get a Langoliers here. Can't imagine much. He's saying like 240, but at least he's got some pop and plays defense. That's what the Mets, I think, on the bottom of the order need. But you're gonna hear different names, and what the beauty is our show is actually on the trade deadline day. So we're gonna try to, like I said, we're gonna do a wheel in 2 weeks. I'm gonna try to get a guest on for us for trade deadline day, and see and everything like that. It's gonna be busy. I expect the Yankees and the Mets will be buyers. Detroit will be buyers. The Cubs will be buyers. The Padres, the Giants, the Brewers, possibly. Everything of that nature. The Astros, the Blue Jays. It's gonna be a lot of buyers. And that's what happens when you have these extra 2 wildcard spots now. Is now you're clumping everybody together and everything. But moving on from that, we get to the All-Star game snubs, and I know Eric was talking about one in particular. And everybody says to me, "You must be so mad." I said, "What? I could care less." I don't even watch the All-Star game. That's number one.
No,
I don't. But to me, we know who the real All-Star is. We know who it is. We know Juan Soto has been twice the player that Corbin Carroll, and Fernando Tatis Jr. has 40 RBIs this year. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Carroll has missed 20-something games already. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost to the point of, I don't know what we're doing. I don't know why we're even bothering with all this and having this conversation. But again, this is also what happens when you let Dave Roberts make decisions. The guy's an idiot. Knows why he has a World Series, because his team is so freaking talented, and they have to help him. And
now, Josh, I just need a yes or no real quick. Should Juan Soto be an All-Star?
100%.
Okay. My question for you then, the follow-up is, did he have a good April or
Doesn't
May?
matter. Doesn't
So
matter.
so far he's had one good month, and it was a tremendous month. But you're
Yes.
telling me you think he's played well enough to be an All-Star?
Yes.
Where up until before June, or most of June, he wasn't exactly playing up to Juan Soto standards, correct? And there's one question about.
Yes, but all right. So
Explain to me why.
all right.
Explain to me why he's
So
an All-Star.
all right, I'll give you the numbers. So Corbin Carroll, and I actually have it's actually cool. I have a 3-headed thing here for the 2 All-Stars that made it. And one guy that didn't. So the wins above replacement.
That's a
Now,
one.
now remember, the Magic gets to choose the reserves. And it could be as recently as a couple days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Corbin Carroll this year had a 2.5 wins above replacement, and he's only played 73 games. He's missed a lot of time.
What's his numbers though?
328 plate appearances, 73 hits, 20 home runs, 44 RBIs, 10 stolen bases, a 250 batting average, 335 on base, 564 slug, OPS 899, OPS plus 145. Okay, that's one. Fernando Tatis Jr. This one blows my mind. I don't even know how he got in. 3.6 wins above in 86 games, 378 plate appearances. He has 85 hits, 15 home runs, 38 RBIs, 38, 18 stolen bases, a 258 batting average, 349 on base, a slugging at 439. By the way, listen to this OPS. You ready? 789. And an OPS plus of 119.
It's not.
So let me give you Soto's. 3.8 wins above. He trumps both of them. 89 games. Trumps both of them. 393 plate appearances. About the same as Tatis. Tatis had one more hit than him. 84. Soto has 21 home runs. Soto has 51 RBIs. Has 10 stolen bases, by the way, which is shocking.
I think at least 5 of them came against the Yankees, though.
He has a 267 batting average. His on-base percentage, you ready? 401. Slugging is 514. You ready for his OPS? 915. And a 162 OPS plus. Dude, it's not even close. It's not close. And I understand you're gonna try to be devil's advocate because this is what you do.
It's what I do.
Yeah, but honestly, it's really not close.
It sounds like the odd man out should be Tatis based on that, right?
Absolutely. And then Carroll's not even playing.
So if Carroll's not playing, they may have to get a replacement for him, no? And if that's the case,
well, no, I think Soto already said, I'm not going now. I'm not doing it. And you know what? I don't blame him. Screw you. Why should he go? But if he does go, listen, my opinion, I'd rather as many players possible not go and just sit out.
Oh, I agree.
Rest and reset their minds. And so, like, this year, hold on one second. Let me see.
See, in the same breath as you're looking that up, that's exactly how I feel with anyone on the Yankees or Mets in your avenue.
But the thing is, Soto on every list.
Don't do the home run derby.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Soto on every single list was the number 1 snub. On every list, and it's like, yeah, it's silly. It's a ridiculous thing. So the home run derby contestants this year: Ronald Acuna, which we knew would happen, it's in Atlanta; Cal Raleigh, James Woods, Byron Buxton, could be a future Met. Ooh, fun. O'Neal Cruz, because Cruz doesn't care about anything else but himself in showboating.
Interesting name in the trade deadline, though.
Good luck if you have him. You better get his mind checked.
Yeah, that's
Junior Caminero from Tampa, Brent Roker from the A's. And you notice there's a name that's missing. There's a name missing. There is. That would be one Pete Alonso. And they asked Pete the other day, they asked him, I said, how come you're not in the All-Star, in the Home Run Derby? He said that the last couple of years had to get my mind right for it and had to practice and constantly put the work in. He said, I want to just go to the All-Star game this year and enjoy myself and not have to feel obligated or pressured to have to do something like that.
fair.
And I appreciate that answer.
Listen,
Because he's been the face of the Home Run Derby for the last couple of years. And I think he just, after what happened last year, he wants a year off where just, gets himself settled and situated, and everything of that nature. And, my thought process is I let Pete do what he wants.
no, listen, we've seen time and time again how many times a player goes into the home run derby and their swing isn't the same the second half. And sometimes they attest it to the home run derby, adjusting their swing and then trying to find it back again, right? You've seen it with Judge. You've seen it with Alonso. You've seen it with many, many players. So I'm all for no Yankees, no Mets or whatever joining the home run derby for that season.
Exactly. And I think that's, to me, I don't mind it. Let the guys have fun. Let them enjoy themselves. Let them do what they need to do. Let them, like I said, if up to me, it was so funny. People were saying to me, oh, you must be so hyped that Lindor's starting the All-Star game. I said, yeah, I'm so hyped until he winds up like hyperextending his knee or something while trying to get a ground ball. And then I'm pissed, Yeah. I'd rather everybody just sit out.
You know what? I just
go on vacation with your family, get away from the game for the week, have a mental reset, enjoy yourself, enjoy your time, come back,
correct.
Feel better.
Although, the Yankees have a coach in there, and the Yankees also have a couple players in there.
The Joe Torre thing is so ridiculous. What are we doing?
Hold on. You're talking about coaching and stuff like that.
Yeah, but why is Joe Torre on the freaking staff?
Why not? Yankees.
Because you should give it to a manager in the game of baseball that's earned. And that's another thing. By the way, how did Dave Roberts not pick Carlos Mendoza to be on the staff? That's another thing. I was like,
what? Rivalry against there. But Josh, you're talking about a New York coach like that. I think there's another New York coach we should just touch upon before
we head out. And yes, that is correct. And that would be Mr. Mike Brown. Mike Brown, introduced as Knicks head coach, was it Tuesday?
Is it like it the move or dislike the move?
I like the move. And I like the move because if you actually look, and I think when we were on vacation, I showed you the side-by-side numbers with Tibbs. And he's actually accomplished more in his career as a coach than Tibbs has when you look at it.
I feel like he's done a lot more with less too, no?
I agree. And all right. When I was at the engagement party a couple of days ago, I was talking to the groom's uncle about the move. He's like, oh, man, Mike Brown, I don't like it. And I said, and he goes, I wish Tibbs was back. And I said to myself, okay, hold on. I said, why do you like Tibbs? Oh, I like how he coaches. Oh. I said, you like how he coaches, right? I said, do you want me to tell you what coaching is? I said, coaching is about when to use your bench, rotations, adjustments, and figuring things out. Tibbs never used his bench. He never did rotations. He never adjusted to games. To me, I view it as he's not coaching. He was never coaching. And I know that's harsh, but that's what a coach does. Name me a young player that came here with the Knicks, you want to say Deuce McBride? Somewhat. Name me a young player that he helped develop. They drafted. I can't think of one.
Yeah.
Robinson was already a good player before he got here. I and to me, I view this as I don't understand everybody's, and I have a lot of respect for Tibbs. He came here, he came to a mess and everything like that. But to me, to be a real coach, use your bench, use your rotations, learn to adjust. He didn't do that. He never did that. And Mike Brown is the total opposite. And also, Tibbs likes to play slower with his team, especially on offense. Brown is a hustle and bustle guy. Pop, 3, get back on defense. And also, Brown likes to do man-to-man, not the switch that Tibbs does. But what are your thoughts before we,
To be honest, I feel, looking back at Mike Brown, he's done.
And after what I just said, it was genius. I made valid points. I said it for you.
You good? Did you get it out?
I made more valid points to help you get.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for You're Better Than That.
No. You have
All
to
right.
say your
I was
reason.
about to make you my You're Better Than That, but all right. But no, Mike Brown, I think, has done a lot more with less. You've seen the point guards under him really develop and grow, i.e. De'Aaron Fox, right? And some other ones. Again, has done more with less. I don't think the roster that the Knicks currently have is the final product before the season. We'll get into that a little bit more. We'll see. But I do think that the roster construction of the Knicks currently, the fact that they did add some depth pieces for the bench is tremendous. I like those moves to go along with it. You kind of give him a little bit more to do with than you kind of gave Tibbs. Sure. But I'm excited. I think next best. I am kind of curious to see what happened and what the fallout was with Johnny Bryant per se. But
They
at the
never
same
even
time,
interviewed him. Yeah, they never even interviewed him.
I think this was a great hire. And I hate to say it, but the litmus is the Knicks getting to the finals at the very least, right? He has to get further than Tibbs did to make this correct.
Well, with Tatum out for the year, with Halliburton out for the year,
that's kind of the litmus. No?
Is Cleveland? Boston got rid of everybody pretty much. Indiana's going to be very different without Turner and Halliburton. Who's left in their way? Is it? Meanwhile, before we get to You're Better Than That, did you see the new 76ers draft pick already got hurt? Did you see it? But it's really, I feel like between Cleveland and the Knicks are the two teams in the East.
It's going to be tricky with some other teams. The Heat, Milwaukee, they always seem to put out.
Yeah, but the thing is, but Miami seems to be no more Butler, so I'm kind of like not worried with them anymore. Milwaukee's a mess. And really quickly, did you see what Giannis said on the ISO Speed Show? He asked him the question about in New York and the trade rumors, and Giannis said a lot of people that tried to convince me to go and play there and stuff. And when he was asked whether he was staying in Milwaukee, Giannis said, "Probably, we'll see. Probably again. I love Milwaukee," and that's how he ended it. So we'll see.
So
Giannis, we'll see. I mean, the Knicks are the second favorites right now on betting websites behind Milwaukee, where he's going to play next year. The Knicks are second now. So, I mean, all he has to do is say, "I want to go to the Knicks." That's all it takes. So I want to go to the Knicks, and then bang,
And the Knicks kind of have one piece. I think
make it happen, Captain.
once. So, but guys, let's get into a better than that.
Yes, sir.
Because you kind of just brought up Milwaukee with that and everything, right? Now, if you're Milwaukee, who's your cornerstone? Who's the one, like you just said, that helped bring the championship home to them? Homegrown, maybe wanted to spend his entire career there. Is a little bit unhappy because you get rid of a Dame Lillard, right? You bring in a Miles Turner. I mean,
That was random.
That's a maybe an overpay. Could be, right? Could be an overpay for
Definitely an overpay. He was horrible in the playoffs.
So you go from Giannis saying it's 100% because think about that. Why on the show bring up the Knicks or bring up any other team if you're like, no, I'm a Milwaukee Buck.
Yeah, and
why even bring it up if there's a sliver of, you know what, maybe I'm not. So the fact that Milwaukee will even let him go or try to let him go or anything that way, to me, come on, Milwaukee. I think you're better than that.
yeah, I mean, right now, BetUS has the favorites of where Giannis will play next year. Bucks are 1 at -500. Knicks are 2 at +500. Raptors are 3 at 600.
That's your franchise guy.
Yeah, I mean, oh man, I don't know. We touched on it too. My get better than that is one of the biggest fools in the game of baseball right now. That's Dave Roberts, who doesn't know his ass from his elbow. Excuse my French. That guy clearly has an agenda against New York. Period.
Oh.
Well, you know. It's embarrassing. He's an awful manager. He's so overrated, yet he's going to go to the Hall of Fame because he's won 2 championships. That's the annoying thing.
And he's not done yet. We'll see.
Yeah, exactly. You might win more. So Dave Roberts, you idiot. You're better than that. Get a clue.
I like the reasons. I like the reason. There you go.
Get a clue, man. And everything of that nature. So, check us out, worldwidesportsradio.com, YouTube, Instagram, Periscope, Spotify, Apple Podcast, TikTok for Job in the Mouth, which are coming up next at 7:30 with, of course, Errol Marks, Jabba Chamberlain, Aaron Fishman, Tommy Scoops, Speedy Petey. We'll see. I think Nick Goody could be on tonight. So should be a good show. I love Chaz's new commercial. Speedy, good job playing that. That was amazing. Chaz said, we got to get rid of it all. And everything like that. But good show today. We'll see if the Mets and the Yankees will get out of this June swoon that they've, the Mets one is, Mets look like they're going to get swept by Baltimore today in the doubleheader. And, what are you going to do? That's baseball. That's baseball. Everything of that nature. We'll see what happens. But Eric, it was great to have you back on the show, man. I'm glad the DVDs were found.
DVD saga.
Amazing. Those were found. Big deal. That's a big one.
That's a big one. A lot of DVDs in the case.
Don't forget, in 2 weeks we're going to bring the wheel back for the trade deadline, and then our show on July 31st we will be recapping.
Josh, we have to do a live show from the pirate ship, I think.
No, we do not. We might actually have to extend that episode that day on the 31st by a little bit. We might, because I know Job and the Mouse will move back to Thursdays, so they're moving back to Wednesdays. They're moving back to Wednesdays, so we're gonna have time now to possibly extend the show. for that Thursday episode, especially if we have a guest on. We might need to do it. I'll be back in the studio next week.
That might be a full studio one.
Yeah, possible. Might have to bring Errol in and see his thoughts, get his thoughts on it. That'll be fun. Eric, enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you, Speedy, of course. Thank you to the fans for listening and watching. Again, phones will be up and running next week. I will be back in the studio. We will talk to you all next week. Enjoy Jabba in the Mouth. Have a good weekend, everybody. For Eric Bowe, any last words before we go?
Listen, you know what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to be a better person today than I was yesterday.
That's a good way to look at life.
Cheers.
I try to be a better person the next minute than I was the minute before.
No promises there.
No, definitely not. For Eric Bowe, for Speedy Petey, I'm Josh Silver. Thank you for listening and watching us here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This has been Game On. Stay tuned for Jabba in the Mouth coming up next. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hey, it's Chaz from ChampionshipFootballs.com. We've lost our lease. That means every single one of these boxes has to be out of here by July 31st. How many boxes, you ask? We started in 2005. Championship football started the same year the Longhorns won their last national championship. So you could ask Matthew McConaughey how many championship footballs that is, and they all have to go. So if you know a football fan, give them the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Check out our Facebook page for specials. We'll be sending out emails too with specials on your favorite team's souvenir football. But remember, it's not your team had a pretty good season footballs.com. It's championshipfootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. So thanks in advance for helping out, because we got to get rid of all of these.